You don't need to commit atrocities to be dominated by your shadow. It rarely reveals itself in an obvious way. The shadow doesn't shout, it whispers. And that's exactly why it is so dangerous. Because it acts in silence, in the subtext, hidden under justifications. It camouflages itself in behaviors you call my way, my personality, my temperament. But the truth is, if you observe closely, you'll see that it's not you who is in control. Want a simple example? That disproportionate irritation towards someone who thinks differently from you. That automatic disdain for more confident, bolder, freer people. The cruel judgment you unleash in your mind when you see someone standing out or failing. These feelings don't come from nowhere. They are reflections, projections. As Jung explained, what irritates us in others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves. In other words, what bothers you most in others is almost always something you have repressed in yourself. Another clear symptom, self-sabotage. Have you ever been close to achieving something great? A relationship, a project, a significant change, and without realizing it, destroyed everything. Delayed what you shouldn't have, said what you didn't need to, created an unnecessary conflict. The shadow acts like this. It doesn't want you to evolve because growing requires internal confrontation. It prefers to keep you in what is familiar, even if it is destructive. It feeds on your stagnation. And what about uncontrollable emotions? Have you ever felt a hatred that makes no sense? A jealousy that seems irrational? An envy you try to disguise with criticism? These extreme emotional states are direct manifestations of the shadow. They are parts of you that have been denied, repressed, and now scream for attention, just in the worst possible way, taking the wheel of your life without you realizing it. The shadow also reveals itself in the masks you wear. When you try too hard to appear good, correct, spiritualized, peaceful, be careful. Excessive virtue may just be an unconscious defense against the impulses you fear most in yourself. That person who prides themselves on their patience may be hiding immense anger. Those who claim to be too detached may just be fleeing from their own neediness. The shadow is not just what is ugly, it is what is true but has not been accepted. And here's a hard truth. The more you define yourself solely by the light, the more you will be controlled by the darkness, because everything you do not integrate possesses you. But now that you are starting to identify these signs, the most troubling question arises. What if this image of a good person you have constructed is actually just a way to keep your shadow locked away? From now on, let's break the greatest illusion of all, that you are essentially good. And let's expose the truth that no one wants to hear. You are not as good as you think, and everything you fear most still lives within you. Do you consider yourself a good person? And maybe you really believe that. After all, you don't hurt anyone on purpose. You strive to be kind. You want to do the right thing. But what if I told you that this kindness is a construct? A social veneer? An armor you created to avoid facing the most brutal parts of yourself? Society taught you that being good means not feeling anger, not wanting too much, not being selfish. But feelings don't disappear because you deny them. They simply go to the basement of your consciousness. And there they transform into something darker, more corrosive, more dangerous. You haven't stopped feeling envy. You've just learned to call it critical opinion. You haven't stopped wanting power. You've just learned to disguise it as the desire to make a difference. Your kindness may just be the domesticated version of your shadow. Carl Jung said that enlightenment doesn't happen by imagining figures of light, but by making the inner darkness conscious. And this is where many fall, because they don't want to see their own darkness. They want to maintain the illusion that they are pure, just, morally superior. But this pride is, in itself, an expression of the shadow, because it hides something fundamental: the fear of not being good enough, the terror of discovering that within you exists cruelty, selfishness, arrogance, contempt. You think you are kind, but maybe you are just passive-aggressive. You think you are humble, but you can't stand it when someone receives more recognition than you. You say you don't care about status, but you feel diminished when you see someone more successful. This doesn't make you a monster, it makes you human. And that's exactly the point. The more you deny your humanity, the more the shadow takes control. True kindness doesn't come from denying the evil within you. It comes from facing it head-on, recognizing it, and consciously deciding not to act from it. This is psychic maturity. This is integration. The rest? It's fantasy, emotional childishness. And childishness, when repressed for too long, turns into destruction, internal or external. Do you really want to know who you are? Look at what embarrasses you, at what you judge in others, at the thoughts you try to silence. Because it is there, exactly there, that the most real part of you lies. But what now? If the shadow is inevitable and already in action, what to do? How to prevent it from continuing to sabotage your life, your relationships, your future? You will discover that the shadow doesn't have to be your enemy, because there is a way, a deep, brutal, and liberating work called shadow work. If what you're hearing resonates with you, you'll find real value in my ebook, Beyond the Shadow. It breaks down Jung's core ideas and gives you tools to understand yourself more deeply. Link is in the pinned comment. By now, you have already understood that ignoring your shadow is a sentence of destruction. But here's what almost no one says. Your shadow does not want to destroy you. It wants to be seen. It wants to be heard. It wants to be integrated. And it is precisely by ignoring it, by pretending it doesn't exist, that it ends up possessing you. Carl Jung called this process integration. And it is neither simple nor comfortable. It requires courage. It requires you to dive into the darkest corners of your psyche and accept what you fear most about yourself, not to surrender to it, but to transform that repressed content into strength, awareness, and freedom. This process has a name: shadow work. And it begins with a brutally honest question. What in me do I not want to admit exists? It is at this point that you need to stop lying to yourself. You need to acknowledge your darkest impulses without judgment, without moralism, without self-pity. Do you feel envy? Acknowledge it. Do you take pleasure in seeing someone who humiliated you fail? Accept it. Have you ever wished to hurt someone with words or actions? Admit it, because what you do not admit dominates you. But what you face, you transform. One of the most powerful tools for this is the shadow journal. Grab paper and pen, or a blank file, and write without filters, without censorship. Give voice to the thoughts you would never dare to say out loud. Let out everything you hide, even from yourself. Yes, it will be uncomfortable. Yes, you will be scared by what you find. But it is this discomfort that liberates you. Because the shadow does not want to be buried. It wants to be recognized. Another essential practice is to observe your emotional triggers. Who irritates you? Who do you judge? What throws you off balance? These reactions reveal the parts of you that have not yet been integrated. What you project onto others is, in fact, an unconscious attempt to expel something that exists within you. The shadow reveals itself more in what you condemn in others than in what you confess about yourself. And finally, learn to dialogue with your shadow. Do not fight against it. Do not try to eliminate it. Tell it, I see you, I hear you, you are part of me, but you do not control my life. This simple attitude of embracing without submitting changes everything. because it transforms fear into awareness, anger into power, insecurity into clarity. Shadow work is not a cheap self-help technique. It is an existential journey. It is crossing the fire of your own truth and coming out the other side whole. More authentic, more free, more complete. Because true strength does not come from denying who you are. It comes from mastering what is within you, especially that which scares you. But even with all this, there is one question that still echoes. Is it worth it? Facing the shadow, diving into the abyss, exposing the wounds. All of this leads to a breaking point. A moment when you realize that you either face the pain of transformation or continue to be a slave to the pain of repetition. In the next and final part, we will go to that breaking point. And there, you will understand why the only real way out is exactly in what you have been avoiding your whole life. You spent your whole life trying to be someone others would approve of. You wore the mask of the good, the strong, the balanced. You tried to fit into what was expected, hide what was shameful, bury what was ugly. But the more you tried to escape your shadow, the stronger it became. It became more a part of your actions, your fears, your silent decisions. And now perhaps you are starting to realize that everything you thought was bad luck, sabotage, fate, was just you, driven by parts of yourself that you refuse to see. Do you want to be free? Then look at what you avoid most within yourself, because that is where the portal lies, the key. The shadow is not the end. It is the crossing. It is the fertile ground where true freedom is born. Not that superficial freedom of doing what you want, but the inner freedom of not being a slave to unconscious impulses, automatic patterns, repetitions you don't even know the origin of. When you integrate your shadow, something changes forever. You stop sabotaging yourself. You stop blaming the world. You stop living in fear of yourself, because now you know there is nothing left to hide. You see yourself in full, light and darkness, fragility and power. And when you see yourself in full, no one can control you anymore. Not your history, not your pain, not your traumas, not your mask. But be careful, this is not a destination. It is ongoing work. The shadow is alive, and it returns, tests, tries to catch you off guard. That's why the path of awareness never ends. You need to be vigilant, observe. Take care of your psyche as one would care for a temple. Because if you let your guard down, it will once again take control of your life, and you will, once again, call it bad luck, failure, fate. So I invite you to make a pact with yourself now, a pact of honesty, of courage, of responsibility. Don't run away from who you are anymore. Start today. Write. Observe your triggers, reflect, and most importantly, share. In the comments, tell me, which part of your shadow do you have the hardest time accepting? What emotion, desire, or impulse do you pretend you don't feel, but know is there? Let's talk about it. Because the more you talk, the more light enters, and the more light, the less control darkness has over you. If this video impacted you, if it made you rethink your relationship with yourself, continue on this journey. Watch the next video. It is important, and it may be exactly what you need to hear right now. The darkness is not the end. It is the beginning of true awareness. See you there.